What's up, my peoples? It is your boy AMG here, and today we'll be talking about episode 20, about that time I got reincarnated as a slime, titled Yuki Kakazaki. I think that's how you say his name. I'm not sure. Don't murder me in the comments because I didn't say the name right. Anyway, let's get it. Now, we start out this episode with everybody just be cheerful, just happy and having the festival after they beat the whale shark monsters, which I don't really care about the name, so I'm not even going to say anything about it. But and everybody's just talking about their skills and everything, talking about how they can make good armor and, shields and doing trade with it. So we know Rimuru has, set that up with other countries being able to trade and everything else like that. And we see Rimuru, after everybody's having the party and just everybody enjoying themselves, he goes to sleep and everybody's just knocked out in the street because, it's pretty much, I live in Arizona. So it's like going to the, I don't want to say Tempe Marketplace, but going to Mill Ave, which is around College Club Town. So, yeah. And we see just him asleep, and he's having dreams, but they're really memories from Shizuru, and he's having memories of the kids and everything like that. And the next day he's like, I need to go to where she was before, the country she was in, and to go find out about these kids. So he goes and tells everybody in the village, the village leaders he has there. He's like, I'm leaving for a little while because I'm going to, fulfill Shizuru's last wishes. And everyone was like, yeah, but if you leave, what if you get hurt while you're gone? So you know what? They didn't even care about, hey, we're going to get crushed if you leave because you're our village chief type stuff. No, they were like, you leave, you can get hurt, and we're not there to protect you. And he was like, oh, well, I'm bringing, the Wolf Tempest guy with me. Just I had to do it. But they're bringing him with you, so it's it's not going to be that horrible. And plus, you guys have everybody here, so you'll be able to protect everything. So he sets off, and it only takes him 3 days because Tempest the Wolf. And they go, and he just goes into his regular form and his human form. And he walks in there and says he wants to meet the Grandmaster. And I'm like, Grandmaster? That's interesting. I didn't even know there was a Grandmaster in this world that they have. But that's a new concept that they just brought up just now. And he goes in, and he's just walking around the village, walking to there where the, I guess you want to say, City Hall is. And he walks up and he sees everybody has stores that plexiglass and all kinds of weird stuff. And then he goes in, walks up to the, I'm going to call it City Hall again. And he goes in and the doors are sliding, sliding glass doors. And I'm like, don't you need electricity for that? Did they make electricity? Does this Grandmaster make electricity here? And he goes in and he talks, and there's reception desk and everything. And I'm just like, okay. And then the outside of the building looks like a skyscraper. So I'm like, that's really interesting. He goes in. They were like, oh yeah, you wanted to meet the Grandmaster, and his, letter checks out. So he goes up in this elevator type thing, but it's teleportation, so they just snap up there. So it's like, okay, so maybe they don't have electricity because they teleported. But anyway, they end up in his office, and he waits. And he goes in, and he waits and waits, and he was like, I wonder what the Grandmaster's like. And we see the Grandmaster come in, and he's a kid. And he tries to attack Rimuru off top. And I guess because he's mad because he has, Shizuru's mask. And he goes off, and they do this real powerful kick. They both do, and it was explosion! And everything just blew back, and he was like, I'm not a bad slime. It was like, he hops back and was like, the Grandmaster hops back, he's like, oh, that's from a video game. He was like, how you know that? He was like, you taught such and such about Shizuru about that, didn't you? He was like, yeah. So we pop up later on, and they're talking, he's telling him, Rivu's telling the Grandmaster, whose name is Yuki, so that's the name I'm going to start using for the rest of this video. He tells Yuki about all the mangas and everything and animes that were out, and if they ended or if they stopped, and tell them how it ended and everything. Because apparently, as they're talking, we kind of find out that Yuki, the Grand Master, has been there for a little while longer than Rimuru has, maybe like a bit longer, because he doesn't know about all this stuff, and we know, from our point of view, that mangas and everything come out. Like some of them come out monthly, some of them come out weekly. So if he doesn't know all this stuff and he was watching it constantly, he had to be here for quite a while. And then he's to talk about, mangas that are still ongoing that shouldn't be ongoing. Fairy tale. Anyway, he keeps on going on, and he was like, "Yeah, well, why did you come here?" The Grandmaster asked Rimuru, and he's like, "Well, I came here to, do Shizuru's final wishes." And he was like, "Oh, you mean the kids at the Freedom Academy?" And he was like, "Yeah, pretty much." And he was like, "Well, I'll let you go there and be the teacher. That's fine with me because I trust you." He goes there, and as they're walking to the classroom that the kids are in, the Grandmaster's like, "Hey, all these kids are summons, and they really are young. They don't have powers. Well, they have powers, but they have powers, but they will die in an amount of 5 years with their summonings." And it's like, 5 years? That's weird, because no other isekai that I've ever watched has ever had a time limit about how long someone can live unless they got killed by a monster. So that's an interesting thing right there. But they only live for 5 years after being summoned. And there was a lot of kids in other countries summoning them, because instead of strengthening your army, it's easier to bring on a strong hero. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. You bring in strong heroes instead of strengthening your army, but then you're just relying on the hero, and if the hero leaves, your army is still weak. So that makes no sense to me. That's kind of dumb, but whatever, that's not here or there. But anyway, then we keep on moving on, and he's like, and we have no way to save them. So all the countries let us keep them because they're dying, and we're trying to help fix them. And Rimuru was like, yo, well, I'll try my best to try to help them. And we see the Grandmaster Yuki's like, please help him, thank you. And he's really mature, so it makes me wonder how old was he before he came here? And how long has he been here? And then plus, it kind of gives you a timeline with how long Shizuru was here as well, because those kids are only 10, so it hasn't been that long. And I don't think they're in their, I'm not sure if they really stated they're in their final year or they got there when they were 5 or something like that. But we go in, just keep going on, and come to find out, it makes me wonder other stuff about it that I'm going to leave for the end of the video. Let's just keep going. And then we go into the room, and the kids are rowdy as hell. Like literally, there's one kid who uses a flame sword, and he seems kind of like Naruto to me because he's just rowdy. But all the other kids around him like, oh, you're so cool. That's a strong power. And they're just all rowdy and rowdy. They're all 10 and 11 years old in different sizes. Like, I was like, oh, so they did some real world dimensions, because there's some real short kids and real tall kids that look old. Because I remember when I was in middle school and high school and elementary, the kids, they were their heights were real. Like, someone was like really like 4 foot, and then other was like 5'9". And you'd be like, what the hell? It was like, what's going on here? What was you drinking and eating? I was eating the same thing you were. Why are you taller than me? But yeah. And the kids are rowdy. He was like, these kids don't act like they're about to die, and they know it. So I was like, okay. But that's when the episode ends. But I have some questions for you guys. So, if Rimuru and the Grandmaster Yuki, are they not summoned? I guess since they're reincarnated, they got reincarnated from like point A or like level 0 and just were born again, and they leveled up, so that wasn't the same thing. So they were like, reincarnated as a different creature completely. So when they came back, they started at 0, so it wasn't like everybody else. But the kids were already 5 years old, or whatever age they were when they got teleported there. So they only lasted for 5 years. So it made it different. So they're not summons just like the kids. They're reincarnations, I guess. Hence the name of the story. But that's kind of weird that that wouldn't affect them. And then it makes me wonder, Shizuru, That makes me wonder about her too, because wasn't she a summon? Because didn't she get summoned when she was younger too? She didn't just come over and was a completely different person, because we've seen her backstory. So it makes me wonder, like, why didn't she die? Did the demon lord she was working for have something to do with that? Is that going to be a later? That's going to be a later plot point for the story for sure.